Good morning and welcome everybody to this episode of Social Today. So here we are in the lovely surroundings of Hotel du Vin here in Cheltenham, and talking about websites today with Rich Mehta of Rigorous Digital. There he is, the man himself. And we're going to be looking at what you need to consider when you purchase a new website. So if you're looking to upgrade your website or buy a completely new website, perhaps for a new business that you're starting up, hopefully we can pass on some great advice for you today. So, Rich.
Hi.
So, I don't know, starting point for this, perhaps let's say we were going for a gold standard website, so
Yep.
you've got kind of like unlimited resources,
Okay.
and we'll look at some of the things that could be considered here, because with websites there is so much to consider, isn't there? So
Absolutely.
it can be a minefield for people looking to buy a new website. Just quick welcome to Rita there.
Hello, Rita.
Joining. So, gold standard website. Rich, name a few of the things that you would need to consider.
So, I mean, if you've got an unlimited budget, then you can pretty much go anywhere with it. Then realistically, you'll be looking at getting involvement, and I'll go through the services you'll need. So it may be that you have more than one person working on any one of these things. You'd have design. Development, those would be the two, obvious ones, if you like.
Yeah, then perhaps for people that aren't sort of familiar with the website world, could you go into a bit of detail on the difference between a web designer and a web developer?
No, it's a good question, actually. So your web designer, if you like, a lot of web designers do both the build side and the design side of websites. Now, really, somebody that couches themselves as a web designer really is more traditionally on the side of the aesthetic, if you like, making sure the website's designed well, looks good, works well, if you like, and then a developer is the person that then implements that design, if you like. So for me, I'm more on the developer end of the spectrum, if you like, personally. So a developer is really somebody that just sort of goes out there and develops the functionality behind the design, makes the design work, if you like, as a website. So that's the person that builds it, if you like. Now, on top of that, you may also have somebody dealing with user experience. So that's somebody that looks at how people use the design and the website, and then they make alterations based on what they notice. So, for example, they may notice that people don't specifically click a button, if you like, that really you'd like them to. For example, the contact us button. People might not click it. So a user experience person would notice that through their research, and then make a suggestion to the design team to make a change there. Beyond that, you can involve somebody in the database side of things. So that's where the data is all stored, if you like. Generally, that's not something that a lot of projects involve these days.
What sort of website might need? What sort of business might need a database on their website?
We're really talking more enterprise level now. So it would really be where there's the website of a large company then integrates with something else, or has some way of reporting out of the data that it collects, if you like, into the internal business.
Right.
So but it's a valid field in its own right. And if we're talking sort of the top level, there may be involvement from somebody like that, if you like.
Sure.
So, and then obviously you're onto your search engine optimization and your digital marketeers, if you like. So people are looking at, how do we get this website to the top of Google on the first page for the terms that we need to? What terms do we need to target? What content do we need to put in the website? And your marketing side, they'll be looking at do we need to be doing any sort of marketing around like events? Do we need to run a launch event for it? Do we need to be marketing it in the real world, so taking that online offline experience type thing? Do we need to be doing that? And these are all areas that you can have separate people or even teams involved in. So really, if you're looking at the real top end of the scale, and we are talking a lot of money here, obviously, but if you're talking that, I have been involved in projects where there's been that many people involved, if you like. So
Cool. And it sounds like quite a lot involved there. So would a web designer, web developer be able to sort of point you in the right direction of those kind of areas of expertise, or how would that work? Would you just sort of try and find appropriate people for those roles?
So it really depends on the budget, first of all, and it also depends on the person that you're dealing with, their connections, the designer and the developer that you're dealing with. They may already know people in those different disciplines, or they may not. So for me, for example, because I've got the experience of dealing with bigger projects, I can draw on people to say,
sure,
go to them for marketing, go to them for a bit of SEO and so on. But not necessarily for all sort of designers and developers.
Okay, and hosting is another sort of area when it comes to websites. And last week we saw Moonfruit advising its customers that they were going to be offline for at least 24 hours because there was a hacking attempt on their website.
Yeah.
I guess with companies like Moonfruit, they kind of like take care of everything for you, which is an advantage. But is there a greater risk of your service being offline with a company like that?
Sure. I mean, with any kind of if you put all your eggs in one basket, that's always a liability, and that goes for anything in business. Now, working with something like Moonfruit is absolutely fine. It's a cheap route to market, and obviously, if that's the level of resource you've got for web in your business, then that's fine. It's a completely appropriate response in some cases. What I would say is obviously the note of caution here is, if you're hosting with someone like Moonfruit, to be aware of what you're liable for. And in this case, it was being offline for 24 to 48 hours. Now, for some businesses, that might not be a problem. I'd argue for a lot of businesses it would be. There's also been, I think you and I have spoke about it previously, John. There was Wix had a sort of similar service outage. In that the websites were still up and running, but they were de-indexed from Google. Now that was a case of, you're in the same pot as a load of other people.
So your business wouldn't be found on Google.
Exactly.
Basically.
So you wouldn't. People would search for you on Google and they wouldn't be able to find you if you had a Wix website, and that lasted for a good few months, I think.
Yeah.
So obviously Google went, well, hands up, our fault. Sorry about that. But really. The problem is you're on a platform that's being controlled by someone else. What happens if that platform goes away? What happens if that platform has intermittent service? What happens with your data that you put into that platform? You spent a lot of time writing content for pages and getting imagery and stuff like that. What happens if that platform goes away? Have you got access to that content readily and easily?
Yep.
Can you back it up? Those are all valid things I'd say are worth asking the question of, and the answer may be with all of those, well, do you know what, it doesn't matter, and that's fine and fair enough, but it's worth asking the question.
Somebody's commentating on your pink shirt.
Oh, what's wrong with my pink shirt? It's a beautiful pink shirt.
Dang sharp is the expression.
Thank you. Is that a hashtag or?
Might be now. And one other thing comes to mind. What about domain names, as in your .com or your .co.uk? What's the best way of sorting that out?
Well, so in a lot of examples, the .com or .co.uk domain name or whatever it is will often be registered to the person that built the site for ease, I think, generally. What I would say to customers is to make sure that their details are added on to that domain, so that if that person goes away or is no longer involved in the project, that it's easy to transfer that domain over to someone else or yourself if you need to. I mean, the best case scenario is it's in your account, if you like, as a customer. You should have those domains in your account. If you can't do that, and I appreciate sometimes it's a very technically challenging area, so I appreciate sometimes it's easier within the scope of the project just for the designer to have them, or the developer. Then just make sure that the details against that domain reflect you rather than the developer or the designer.
We've got a couple of points, questions. Carrie again, the shirt man has now started on the beard. And more serious question: can you have a .net and a .com website at the same time? How would that work?
Yeah, absolutely you can. Now, what you would usually do with that is you choose one that you want to be your actual domain, and you'd redirect the other to it.
A redirect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd say. I mean, anything else would be bad for Google. Essentially, you can actually serve up the same website on your .net and your .com.
Morning, Matt.
But what Google sees that as is two separate websites that are copying each other, which is not good for anyone. So what you want to do is you want to make sure there's a good redirect in there. There is a certain type of redirect that you want. I won't bore everyone with the service code, but you want to make sure that you've checked that your redirect is what's Google friendly essentially. And then you should that will allow you to do that, absolutely.
Excellent.
And this is the Social Today show, which is normally about social media. So can't really. Oh, and you get a thank you for that reply, by the way, from the questioner there. If I can just see if I can get his name up, actually. Saif, yeah. No, ethical hacker, programmer, student, passionated learner. So there we go. Thanks for your question, Saif. Yeah, so the programme is generally about social media. So a little bit, Rich, about integration of social media and websites.
Of course, I've forgotten the social media guys. I'm so sorry, John. That's a big oversight on the Social Media Today programme, isn't it? No, I mean absolutely. I think there's definitely. I think that's a whole realm in itself. I mean, it used to be marketing would take care of social media, but actually I think it's really something that, as you've proven to us, John, time and time again, as somebody who's an expert in the area to really take hold of and be working on. So it's a big part of getting your name out there. Social media these days, it's another channel, if you like TV, like radio, like websites. It's another channel to get you in front of your audience, and arguably an even more structured and demographically defined area for you to get in front of, because already people on there have you can. So for example, if you're using LinkedIn, you've got job titles to market to.
Yeah.
If you're using Facebook, you've got ages, gender, all these other sort of types of things that you can use to market to. So absolutely, social
as
media
Rich
is
says,
very
to
important
spike more interest in your goods and services.
Absolutely.
In terms of integration, I guess two sort of types. You've got the old social sharing buttons on blog posts and news articles, and then you can put out badges, can't you, and sort of Twitter feeds and that sort of stuff. So there's quite a bit of integration that can be done.
Absolutely, and if you're a company that looks to get all your content that's posted to your site onto social media, you can also set up, say if you're using a content management system, you can also set up integrations the other way, so it's pushing content out onto social media. At the moment, I've mentioned a website called evpeople.co.uk a couple of times. At the moment, what we're looking at doing with that is integrating their Twitter feed so that the website pushes new jobs that go on to Twitter, and also highlights some really nice employers that are on the platform as well, with just some nice tailored text and their logo and so on.
Excellent. Question from Richard Gray: to get a responsive website environment, is it best to start again? Good question. This with a site that is 5 years old.
That's a very good question. Very good question. It really depends on how it's structured. So I'd say if it's built well, you can retrofit responsive design on. The technologies that you use to do that allow for it, if you like. Now, if it's poorly built, you may choose anyway to out with the old, in with the new, if you like. And it does also depend somewhat on the design as well. Obviously, if the design doesn't work on a mobile and won't work on a mobile even with a bit of jiggery-pokery, then you probably are better off starting over. I know a lot of responsive design projects do start over because it's a good period at which to reevaluate the business and how they talk to their customers, and so that can be the impetus, if you like, rather than the fact that it's responsive. It's just the reevaluation that takes place at that point in time. 5 years is a good cycle for a website as well. So you may
time for a bit of a revamp.
Exactly.
Change.
You may choose to say anyway, well, perhaps it's time for a revamp.
Excellent, thanks for that. A couple of comments. Do keep the comments and the questions coming in. Much appreciated. Richard Gray says he might be in touch, so could be a potential customer for you there, Rich. Sue Kelso Ryan says key on the integration of websites and social media is shareable content, so I think we'd agree with that. Very important. Regularly update your content with valuable content, and others will share that on their social media, and get a good copywriter like Sue Kelso Ryan to blog for you. Yes, we've also had the gentleman interested in your attire and beard this morning, suggesting a pink woolly jumper.
Wow.
But
For you or me?
I think for you, although I have got the pink shirt going on today, both got pink shirts going on, but I think it's a bit too mild for that if you're still watching, so not sure about the pink woolly jumper. So thank you very much for your time, Rich.
No trouble.
Just go back to me just a second. Perhaps just to finish off by giving a bit of a mention of your business and the services that you offer for anybody that's still watching.
Oh, absolutely. So I run a company called Rigorous, and chiefly we build websites. We manage the design, if you like, but also we offer sort of support contracts for companies that are looking to build on their digital presence, if you like, their website or whatnot, and that's really about making sure they're making best use of online, and that can encompass improvements on their website. It can be about building traffic. It can be about being better on Google. It can be about social media. It could be about running adverts online. So that's a lot of what we're involved in.
Excellent, thanks very much. So this was and is the Social Today show. Back tomorrow with a social media news roundup. Yes, what's your URL, Rich? I believe it's rigorousdigital.co.uk?
Rigorous-digital.co.uk.
Rigorous-digital.co.uk, or if you Google Rigorous Digital, I'm sure Cheltenham, I'm sure you'll find it. And if you're after mine, Matt, it's intranetfuture.com. So thanks for watching, folks. Back tomorrow with a social media news roundup, all the latest developments in the world of social media over the past week. So I hope you can join us then. Just going to finish off. Finish off with a goodbye from Rich, but first a quick spin around Hotel Divan because it is worth a look here. Getting lots of thank yous in, Rich. So
That's very kind.
welcome everybody. Here's Hotel Divan, very nice, reasonably empty bar at this time of the day. And have a great day too, Rich. And just Matt, sorry. And just finish off by one of your famous goodbyes, Rich.
Goodbye, everyone.